All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast. Today, here with your host, Richard Fu from richardfu.com and The Ultimate Man. And today, guys, I have a real tech specialist on here. I'm excited to get him on because it's not often that I get to speak to people who are big experts in the SEO field. And so when I got introduced to this guy, I was excited because I'm like, oh, finally, someone who knows a bit about SEO, who isn't doing, I believe, all the black hat stuff, and who's actually helping a lot of companies. And not only that, he's doing more than just helping companies, guys. He's set up cities in bases, in places where no one would actually want to venture in for their own companies. And this is what intrigues me most, and this is why I'm excited to talk to the founder of Ardor Seo.com. His name is Kris Reid, and I'm excited to talk to him about that and how he started his business and his whole business venture. So guys, please welcome Kris Reid. Kris, good to have you on.
Hey, Richard, thanks for having me, man.
Man, pleasure to have you on, man. I'm looking forward to chatting to you more. And so, Kris, for the people who haven't heard about you or your work, could you share a bit more about yourself and I guess how you actually started building your own business and expanding into more than just, one city, but also multiple cities now?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name's Kris Reid. I'm originally from Brisbane, Australia. I'm a software engineer. Pretty much finished my software engineering degree and then moved to London to work in finance, which was a really great experience. But then the financial crisis came and destroyed my career, along with everyone else working in finance at the time. Mm-hmm. But it turned out to be a real blessing in disguise. So, I was happy living in Europe and making lots of money. But then there was no jobs to be had. So I ran back to Australia and kind of thought, what the hell am I going to do with my life? Yeah. And being a programmer, I'd always done desktop applications because that's what you do in finance because they have to be secure, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I wanted to move into the web world. And so I started building an online game called Mob Warrior. And I was really just doing it for a bit of fun and to try and learn this new programming skills about how you do web stuff. Mm-hmm. And as the game was getting ready, to be played, I was like, well, how do you get people to your website to play a game? Mm-hmm. So I started learning about SEO. And I had a Russian girlfriend at the time, and she said, well, let's move to Russia. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I've got nowhere else to be.
Yeah. Just because, right?
And I didn't speak Russian at the time, and so I couldn't really get a job. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, how the hell do I make any money? And so I started playing around with SEO and seeing if I could make some money that way, and it turned out I could, and doing pretty good.
Wow, man. And then from Russia, what happened there, man?
Yeah, so I lived in Russia for many years, learnt Russian, became a local, became very experienced at drinking vodka in the snow. And, it was a great time. And I screwed around quite, and I decided, well, let's get serious about business. Mm-hmm. And I already had quite a lot of online staff. Mm-hmm. And the majority of them were from the Philippines. Mm-hmm. And I'd never been to the Philippines before. And I asked them, I said, where's the best place in the Philippines to live? Mm-hmm. And they unanimously said Davao, which is in the very south of the Philippines on a big island called Mindanao. And so I came here, and that's where I am right now. And I went, wow, it's got everything I need. It's, it's a beach city, lots of islands around. There's, it's safe, it's fine. And so I set up shop here, and I was really surprised. These people did online, and I said, oh, let's go get a beer. And they were like, well, we're not in Davao, which I was like, wow, that's really surprising. But anyway, a couple of them actually moved to Davao later and, still work for me today.
Wow, man. What a journey. And I want to jump in here, Kris, because I know that's the fast forward version of it. And I want to pull out some awesome nuggets here. So let's go back when you were in London and, the GFC hit and, you're just there sitting at that point where you're just questioning yourself. You're like, what do I do now? Right? I mean, what got you through that moment where, you were questioning yourself and, what made you decide to just make that shift rather than just go and find another finance job back home in Australia?
I worked on the biggest project in Europe which is massive, 400 developers, and it's soul destroying. Like, it didn't matter if you work really hard. It didn't matter if you do nothing. It's just no one cares because you're this cog in this giant machine that you don't matter. And that's not very fulfilling. And so I was pretty sick of that. But also, I'd been a consultant, and every job I'd got me a pay rise. I was starting out my career, so I was, you have pretty good trajectories at the time. And after the global financial crisis, I could not get a pay rise. I could get the same money, but I was like, I want a pay rise. I'm not working for the same money anymore. And so that kind of forced my hand. I guess I was pretty arrogant at the time, but hey.
Right. Oh, interesting. And so, like, you realize that you're more than just a cog in a machine, and you start to decide that, the cog with a brain should go out and go create their own machine. Right?
Yeah, well, exactly. I wanted to find some happiness and fulfillment in life, and do something that is important. Like one difference. I mean, someone asked me recently about it, and we were talking about like alarm clocks. And when I lived in London, every day I set an alarm clock, and I hated getting up in the morning. Where I haven't set an alarm clock in years. I wake up at 5:30 every morning, bounce out of bed. I can't wait to get to work. I'm not wishing my days away.
Oh man, that's huge. I love that. And then the next question I had here, Kris, is like, so you started the SEO business, and was it from the get-go, did you know it was going to be a global company or more serving an international company audience rather than just, or, like most people when I talk to them, they want to start a business, they think very local. They think very, like just within their own space. Like when you started it in Russia, did you know that, you're going to do SEO internationally, or did you just think, I'm just going to serve the Russian market first?
Didn't at all serve the Russian market. Never had a Russian customer. It's like we're in the Philippines now, and we haven't had a single Philippine customer. So, our customers are US, Australia, UK. So it was always an international business. But to be honest, to start with, I was not serious at all. I was just screwing around and making a bit of money. I mean, I had a pretty good savings account, so it didn't really matter to me too much. It was just kind of something to do. And it took some time that I went, actually when the money ran out, that I was like, maybe I should get serious about this.
And this is where I wanted to pull it into. Is like, you said that you were screwing around the first few years, and I think that's, you're doing stuff and you only did stuff that you did know, but then it's hit a certain point where you're like, actually, I gotta get serious about this.
Yeah, because I'm that experience. To get poor, so I'm gonna get serious.
Right, like was that like a few weeks out, or like when you actually saw like a few dollars in your bank account, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, so I mean, my ex that's Russian, so we traveled the world a lot. We pretty much backpacked the world for 2 years. And the first year was fabulous. We had lots of money and just traveling footsie free. It was great. The second year we were so broke. Like we were just sleeping on beaches, hitchhiking, like just getting from A to B. But that was even more exciting and more interesting. And like I was in the British Virgin Islands at one stage, and I remember my dad was in New York, and he said, they got return tickets to Australia for $1,000. My sister was getting married. I was like, I don't have $1,000. And like just that afternoon, I got a SEO gig for $1,000. I was like, oh, perfect. I called him back. I'm like, yeah, cool. I got $1,000. And it's just like the universe just kept aligning to get me just to the next stage. And, it was great.
And then I want to ask you this here, Kris, because I think sometimes I see people, entrepreneurs are in this stage, right? And they're getting themselves in this cycle of, I have to hit that burning, the fire has to touch me before I actually go make a move, And did you find yourself in the early stages anyway of like, but you were in that cycle where it's like, you make enough money and then you be happy and then you kind of cruise off and then until the fire catches up to you again and you go like, oh crap, I got to go get some more sales or do something else?
Oh, for sure. Back then, I really wasn't a very serious businessman. I mean, that wasn't my goal. My goal was to travel and have fun and enjoy life, and I was. So I was pretty accomplished at that goal.
And then what made that shift then? What made that shift from when you realized actually it's time to actually take this seriously and I gotta get a proper plan where I'm not feeling like I'm hitting zero every month, so I have to go find another client.
Yeah, I got sick of being poor. I got sick of not knowing. I got sick of living out of I was living out of a backpack for nearly 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I had no clothes. I had, one pair of shoes that was all grubby.
Yeah,
I got sick of that. At one point you go, and I'm getting a bit older. Maybe I should have somewhere where I can call home.
Right, subscribing to that idea, right? That you're like, it's time to settle down.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and then in terms of the business, what shifted for you? Like, so you shifted your mind that you wanted to no longer be, to set roots somewhere, and then how did that roll into your business? Like, how did that lead into your business becoming more successful?
Yeah, so when I moved to the Philippines, we got an office, and it became really tangible. It's like when you got online staff and everyone's floating around, it's kind of hard to visualize it. I mean, some companies work like that, but I don't. Mm-hmm. We've got 2 offices now, and I'm always in one of them. It's just once we had people sitting at desks doing their thing, it's like you go, wow, this is a real job,
Mm-hmm.
and you start acting a bit more professionally. Now I still wear grown-up clothes to work. I try and look like the boss and act responsibly and bring back my corporate experience.
Gotcha. And so let's rewind this. So Kris, I'm really intrigued with you because you've scaled your business to such a way where you have 40 employees over in the Philippines and you have another team over in Cambodia of all places. Yeah. And so, when you're scaling up your business, what was going through your mind in terms of the first hire, your very first hire for your business? How did you know when you needed that person and who did you get?
So even before I got serious, right? So I had a few Filipino employees, and that got up to a pretty good stage. Like they all used to get paid based on the work they did. So a customer would place an order, and then they'd do the work and get paid based on how much work they did. Mm-hmm. And so it was great. There was no risk to me because if there was no work coming in, didn't have to pay them anything. Mm-hmm. So it was great. More work came in, the more they'd get paid, but everything's covered.
Yep.
And so we had quite a lot of staff, but the first people that we had in Davao, they were all on salary, and we've always gone for salary now because we want people that are dedicated to the company and hopefully will be with us forever. We try and make a really nice office environment where everyone's respected and feels comfortable, enjoys their job, has the ability to learn new things. I'm at the moment, I just kick them all outside so we can have a chat. But, I'll go and speak with them afterwards, and they're doing a bit of study, and we'll talk about programming things. And it's if you can help teach people and make them feel appreciated, and let them focus on what they're really good at, they become really loyal too. And you all grow great.
Nice. And what about the very first person, the very first Filipino you hired, right? How did you decide what skill sets they needed to have to complement you and what you're doing?
So he was a guy, Gil Siega. He actually still works for us, and he is online. I've never met him. In fact, we've never even had a phone call because his English is not very good, and I don't speak Tagalog. So we've always had limited conversation. He does a pretty rudimentary job, so it doesn't take a whole lot of skill. So I mean, that's a bit different.
Yeah.
Like other hires though, so our first big hire in Cambodia, he was this Belgian guy who he came for an interview to be a salesman. And I was like, man, you're a terrible salesman.
Not even selling me.
But I looked at his CV and thought, well, you got really great project management experience and a lot of experience working with Filipinos. And his wife's Filipina. And I was like, wow, maybe that'd work. And so I hired him in as a project manager, and he did a fabulous job, amazing job. Project managing is something I'm not really good at, but he freed up so much of my time that it allowed me to focus on sales and marketing, which I am good at. And we grew significantly. And actually just about 3 or 4 months ago, he decided to move to Davao. So he's in the next room now, which is fantastic, because he's managing our army of staff from another country is quite difficult. Doing it here is a whole lot easier.
Exactly, man. Exactly. I love it, man. I love that you're sharing that. And let's go into this next part here then, Kris. I mean, you did go into a little bit of details as to why you decided to move to the Philippines, right? And so I'm interested in why you decided to go and actually set up an office in Cambodia, because having looked at the website, you're saying you wanted to get a more of a footprint in Southeast Asia. And I thought, for me, or any other business person, I'm like, I would probably go to one that we'll call it first tier cities in Southeast Asia, like Singapore, for example, maybe. Yeah. But you decided to go into Cambodia. And I'd love to know what made your decision to go do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, similar reason why I like Davao over. So 2 other cities that people would probably know better in the Philippines, and Manila and Cebu would be the second technology city. Mm-hmm. And one disadvantage with going there, Manila's a whole of a lot more expensive than Davao, plus a lot more competitive, competing for staff, right? And people that are from Mindanao and people that are from Davao want to live in Mindanao and Davao. They don't want to go to Manila for work. So you've got all this, there's no other real SEO companies here. So compete for staff, like people in all the companies in Silicon Valley, like you're looking, Apple has to compete with Google for the best. But we're down here and no one's here competing with us. It's the same, like we've got several customers that are based in Bangkok, and they poach staff off each other all the time. Because there's limited resources, where in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, there's not another SEO company. So we're not, if someone's coming through, and I interviewed a guy just today, his wife, he's American, his wife's Australian. She went to Cambodia to be a teacher, and he's an SEO, and he's looking for a job. Well, what other SEO company is going to get a job with?
I see. So it's like going in there because it's an untapped market.
Yeah, and again, cost of living in Cambodia is significantly less than Thailand, and a whole of a lot less than Singapore. So yeah, sure, in Bangkok and Singapore, you might have a bigger marketplace to look for staff. And we do struggle at times that the market's not great. You have to kind of just wait and see who comes through. But we've got a really great team, and they do come through eventually.
Gotcha. And thank you for sharing that, man. I really appreciate that.
So don't anyone get any ideas and come to Phnom Penh.
I'll let you know. Hey, Kris, I'll let you know. And then we'll set up a schedule, right? and so, Kris, I mean, like going on from here, I mean, SEO has been such we'll call it a buzzword, to be honest, right? With the online community, how everyone's always talking about it, and how there's huge changes in it. I mean, like, what's been the major shifts in SEO that you've witnessed recently, and where do you think it's going to go now, and what do businesses need to do to take advantage of where SEO is probably going to be taking itself and business?
I mean, it's constantly changing. Like Google is getting better and better and smarter, and little tricks that you used to be able to do don't work so well anymore. And you briefly mentioned like black hat before. Well, you do kind of want to stick away. There are black hat methods that still work, but you kind of want to stick away from longevity. At the end of the day, you really just got to be thinking about Google's trying to provide the best user experience. So whatever you're searching for, they want to find relevant content and make sure the user has a good time, so that they find what they're looking for, that the site loads nicely and it provides them the information they want. And as long as you try and stick to those guidelines, you're going to do okay. You should be an expert in your niche, and so you should be able to write good content. And so, provide good content that your visitors want to see, your users want to see, but really know who your users are. If you're writing content that is rubbish, because you might think it's good, but it might not be good, or it might be too technical. It's like, often people will write at an expert level when their customers are not experts. So you need to kind of break it down to a layman's terms. And if you get good at that, then you should be fine. But another thing to remember, and I like to use this 90-10 rule, 10% of your time should be making content, 90% of your time should be getting that content viewed or linked to or out there, exposure to it. So if you're like writing content and no one's looking at it, then it's like shouting in a forest, it does no good.
And I love the fact that you narrowed it down so simply that, I think that's the right way to do it. Like you said, I mean, we're also caught up in creating content. Create content, just like funnel all this content out to the world. That you're right. I think not many of us spend enough time on actually getting that content like sourced out or like syndicated across the right channels so that people can see. So where our audience is.
And to think of an abstraction, I think one issue people have is they don't look at online businesses in the same way they do as real businesses or like bricks and mortar companies.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a local bricks and mortar company, if you're a baker, right? Mm-hmm. You have a network. You have the guy you buy flour with. You have the guy you sell your bread to. It's like you have the landlord that runs this, the shopping center that you got your store in. Mm-hmm. You got this local network. And the internet's the same thing. You're not existing in cyberspace by yourself. You can, but it's a pretty lonely place and you're not going to get any traffic or interaction.
Yeah.
You need to build a network and have suppliers and people you partner with. And, no business really stands alone, right? So it's like whatever service that you provide, work with the people that match your service. If you're a baker, work with the oven maker, build relationships so that you can provide content for them. If someone's got a website about ovens, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they'd love to. What's the use for an oven? Well, to make this great bread, and here's our recipe. And then you show your expertise, and they'd love to post that on their website with a link back to you, and showing you how great you are. And people might like to read an article about how to make bread, but they're not really going to go and make their own bread. They just like to know that you're a trusted authority, and cool. That sounds right. I'll go and buy his bread.
Gotcha. And I love that idea of looking for those, I guess, partnerships, you could call them, right? That are non-competing and all servicing the same target market. And I love how you also mentioned, like, you write a post in that. It could be for that oven website, or it could be for, was it like Home Improvement magazine or something like that. Yeah, where they talk about those things.
Exactly. And, one thing you shouldn't be afraid of is showing people how you do stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're a lawyer even, you can give all of these are the steps we do to process your personal injury claim. We do all this stuff. Mm-hmm. No one's going to go out and do it. They just want to skim over it and go, wow, this guy certainly knows what he's talking about. That looks really difficult. And then they go and pay you to do it.
I love it.
Afraid of showing your knowledge.
Yeah, and I love how you've nailed it down, Kris, and I've seen it now with your business, is that you focus on the thing that you're good at, and then you build your team around that, and that team doesn't mean that you all employees. It could be partners, it could be, investors and all these other things that are bringing other things in that are filling up the gaps that you don't have, right?
100%, Richard.
Love it, Kris. Love it, man. And this has been such an awesome interview, Kris. And we got to start wrapping up the show. And before we start wrapping up, I wanted to go through the quick fire question rounds. Are you ready for it, Kris?
Fire away.
Awesome, man. Awesome. The signature question here we have, Kris, on the show is what I call the time travel moment. It's where, if you could go back to any time in your lifetime, Kris, and you could look down at little Kris and you could tell him one piece of advice that now that he needs to hear. What time would you go back to and what would you tell him?
Certainly as a young adult in my early 20s, I was always in a real hurry to get where I'm going, and now I take a lot more to do research and have a lot of vision with them. And I think that is certainly, I still fail at that, and I try and look harder and think more about stuff. Yeah. So I'd certainly give that advice to my 20-year-old self to slow the hell down and, maybe look to some people that know better. And I was probably pretty arrogant.
So it was just to slow down and just just be where you're at the moment.
Well, you know, read books, learn from the masters, learn from people that are better than you, more experienced than you, and you know, save yourself the hassle of banging your head against the wall. You know.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Love it. Next question I have, Kris, is, you know, in terms of business, right? I'm sure, you know, as you're creating your business, you also, you know, read a lot and studied a lot as well as while you're building your business. And so if you could recommend one book for the people listening or the people watching this, you know, what would that one book be?
Oh, can I recommend two?
All right, Kris, I'll let you squeeze in two.
And so this year I read two books that are both classics. One was written in the 20s and one was written in the 30s, I think. Mm-hmm. One is everyone would heard of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
I read it and then bought copies for my whole team.
Yeah. Nice.
And the other one is, what's it called? The Secrets to Closing a Sale by Zig Ziglar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember exactly when that was published, but he was certainly a door-to-door salesman in 1947. So, you know, it's a pretty old book. But the wisdom in both of them is fabulous, and it, you know, it stands the test of time.
Awesome, man. We'll put them in the show notes as well. And so the next question I have for you, Kris, is you know, you clearly live a life where, you know, you have so much more freedom. You're enjoying your life more so than ever before. And I want to ask you, like, what's true wealth really look like for you, right, in terms of, you know, your life?
I certainly love freedom. I love that no one tells me what to do, and I go where I want, when I want. You know, I just spent last month in Cambodia, the month before in California, this month in the Philippines, next month in Australia. I love that. That's real wealth to me. You know, I jump out of bed in the morning and I go and do yoga. Then I plan out my day, and you know what I want to do is sitting here doing this. You know?
Oh, that's awesome, man. Love it. And one final question here for you, Kris, is that, you know, if you had 30 seconds left to live and you're surrounded by, you know, your family, your friends, your team, the people you've made an impact with through your work and your business, what would you tell them?
Why am I dying? Can we find a cure? Is it too late?
Someone get to work on this.
I told you I was sick.
Kris is always on for the laugh. I love it, man. I love it. And so, Kris, man, as we wrap up this show here, you know, what is the best place people can contact you, man, and if they want to learn more about yourself and your work?
Yeah, so you can always email me. My name's Kris with a K, K-R-I-S, and my email is Kris at Ardor Seo, A-R-D-O-R SEO.com. Or you can tweet me at Coolest Guy in SEO.
Awesome. And one final thing here, Kris, is there anything you wanted to mention on the show that we haven't had a chance to actually talk about here?
Indeed. Our guys are putting together a special competition for your listeners. You know, as a thank you for having us on the show, we're going to run an audit competition. Mm-hmm. So this is a comprehensive website audit that looks at every one of the 200 plus metrics that Google use to determine where your website should rank. Mm-hmm. So that's everything from your title tags to your meta descriptions, your inbound links, your outbound links, your backlinks, your content quality, responsiveness, mobile friendliness, bounce rates, click-through rates, you name it. This normally comes with a $2,000 price tag. What you do is go to ardorseo.com/Richard, put in your name and email, and we'll be announcing the winner in about 30 days.
Awesome. Amazing, Kris. Thank you once again, guys. We'll put that link in the show notes as well. And so once again, guys, thank you, Kris, for jumping on, man. Real pleasure to have you on and just sharing your story and your wisdom here, man.
Hell yeah, Richard. Well, thanks very much for having me, yeah?
Awesome. Thank you. And so, guys, this wraps up another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast here today with the SEO master, Kris Reid. And so, guys, I know Kris doesn't want this to be a secret anymore. So we need to make sure we get this out there. So if you could do this for me and Kris, you could go over to iTunes and rate the show so that we can actually share this message, not just Chris's message, but everyone else's on this show here that's been on here. So because we don't want to keep this a secret anymore. So please do that. Head on over to iTunes. And of course, you can go to richardfood.com to catch all the show notes and all the resources that Kris has shared, including where you can register for that competition as well, because I want you to have the best website out there so that you get seen out there. And finally, guys, remember to go out there, go live with love, and go smash it. And I'll see you again on the next one.